Do you feel like there should be some importance for Neon to have their own +1 global factor, or could they go down the route of maybe balling up to take away the extra add-on that you can have from the Dawnbreaker?
Well, I was about to say they could potentially go for a silencer, but wisely enough,
10
Army
seconds
Geniuses, they went and
remaining.
banned it out after that first phase when they picked up the Dawnbreaker. So,
5
smart move
seconds
by them to
remaining.
be able to do that. Obviously, it's not a first phase ban priority anymore.
Dire team
If they
pick.
wanted to counter just 1-to-1, I don't hate it. I mean, a Disruptor's going to be a nice way to be able to counter it, right? You might be able to, TP on in, but then you just glimpse them straight back afterwards, and you don't have the impact of your position 1 core. It also acts as a bit of a block pick against something that might have been able to counter the Tidehunter a little bit. So I'm
10
really liking this
seconds
Disruptor
remaining.
pickup from Neon.
And more than
5
likely, we're going to
seconds
see them go
remaining.
into something that can provide them vision. I mean, TA's still on the cards if they want that for like an 18th pick, or maybe a position 2 that can look to jump and be very aggressive with the Disruptor to really utilize the Glimpse pickup potential. But Neon have an overwhelming amount of team fight, and our Army Geniuses, they need to decide what they want to do. Are we going to continue to go down the route to make sure we can kind of, take these 5-on-5 fights, or do we go for the route of maybe splitting up the map, trying to find pickoffs, and just, spreading them apart thinly?
Yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum, right? Like
Dire
you're right,
team
where they
pick.
have an overwhelming amount of team fight. I'm just kind of thinking you either need to disrupt that before it happens, or you need to have some kind of way to turn that around immediately. So, a way could potentially be something like a Naga Siren,
Radiant
where you
team
get the
pick.
Ravage off, but you just immediately use the Song of the Siren to be able to turn that back around and try and get in position to be able to take an aggressive move. This time around, it's actually not going to be the Dawnbreaker being played in the position 1 role with the Terrorblade being picked up. Yeah, I mean, their illusion clear isn't amazing right
10
now on
seconds
Neon. You'll be
remaining.
able to use the glimpse to be able to get rid of 1, I suppose, but
5
it's not a
seconds
bad
remaining.
Terrorblade game. I feel like it's a game where you don't really mind just trading equally with the Tidehunter. So yeah, I'm not minding it all that much for Army Geniuses with this pickup here.
I'm just a bit concerned they're too cooldown dependent now, where I was saying, are you going to combat the team fight or not? But you're relying
Dire
on meta,
team
you're
back.
relying on Nighttime and Dark Ascension, and you're even Undying's got a bit of a cooldown in Tombstone. If Dawnbreaker doesn't have ulti, you're playing very far across the map. And Neon, I love this pick. They go for a hero that, is able to burst through the Terrorblade early. They were lacking some tower siege
10
potential
seconds
and
remaining.
someone who isn't as cooldown dependent.
Not cooldown dependent,
5
and as well,
seconds
Nightstalker
remaining.
being on top of you isn't really that big of a deal. Nightstalker's going to be dealing with the Disruptor most of the time anyway, so maybe he might even just sit on top of the Tidehunter as well, so it'll depend on the positioning from Neon in these team fights. But yeah, Leshrac isn't really countered by this Nightstalker. It's going to be on the Terrorblade to be able to just man up and fight, and of
Radiant
course that's going to
team
be quite
ban.
difficult with the huge amount of magic damage that he's able to get out onto you. So
Dire
what I want to
team
see
ban.
is some kind of BKB piercing stun for Army Geniuses to be looking to pick up next. And it's looking like it's going to be their mid laner. So I don't really think they have much of anything for that. I like the Quap ban because, it's decent in the lane against it. They might ban out the Lina just because it's,
10
again,
seconds
decent
remaining.
against the Leshrac just in the laning phase to make sure he's not snowballing out of control. But at
5
least with Quap,
seconds
you
remaining.
could have used the Sonic Wave to push back the Leshrac before he's able to get onto the Terrorblade. So I feel like once it gets to BKB timings for the Slash, it's going to be a very hard game for Army Genius.
Are they looking to just go down the route of at least some playmaker in the position 2? Like, could we consider any of the spirits?
I mean, you could. When you consider into the Terrorblade, it might be like a Maelstrom, Ember Spirit type of game where you're able to just quickly clear out those illusions from afar. But then the
Radiant
question is, like, what
team
if a
ban.
Nightstalker gets in on top of you? What if
Dire
the
team
Dawnbreaker's
pick.
able to chain stun you up? They end up getting rid of the Invoker instead. Okay, EMP is going to be quite nice for that purpose. Could they even opt to go for anything that does build into mana burn here? That might be looking to punish the
10
Leshrac
seconds
in
remaining.
that capacity. Not really seeing much of anything, unfortunately.
5 seconds
Yeah,
remaining.
there's a bit of difficulty if they go down that route. I mean, Army Genius at the moment, 4 melee heroes, very reliant on the
Radiant
Nightstalker Blink to
team
start
pick.
fights. So pick up the Puck. I really want to see them go TA and put the Lesh in the side lane. Ow. Okay,
Choose
I
your
mean,
hero.
gives you great setup here. I mean, Naga Disruptor is an aged old combo. It's even better now with the change, and I think just you really lack ways to deal with the loot. I think this is a heavy outdraft.
For Neon, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it, and they don't have amazing ways to deal AoE damage right now on Army Geniuses as well, right? Like Terrorblade is all single target, he's insane single target, but he's basically all single target. This game is going to be heavily on Azura if Army Geniuses are going to have any shot here. You know, he needs to be playing together with Wami and trying to set up for many kills to be able to take out probably most notably the Disruptor first. And if they're able to do that, then they can look to continue the team fight. If not, they need to try and retreat and, you know, make another play again. Because it just feels like if you're fighting into all of these ultimates on Neon, you're going to come out on the losing end of it.
I think Neon might have some issues with starting fights from the 7 to like 15-minute mark. It's really going to come down to the fact of how Enryu's lane fares and if he goes for like a second item blink. If Mamang Dai wants an early Yule Scepter potentially to set up for some of the Split Earth combinations, but I think it's really Neon are just going to look to brute force down and potentially if they can get some glimpse pickoffs that can come through it. But yeah, they do have issues with at least starting fights early, so maybe this can enable Army Geniuses to play off the back of a little bit more cooldown dependency that they are and get Puck online and Terrorblade online as well.
Do you reckon they'll have difficulty with starting fights? Because I feel like the way that Neon want to do this is that they just want to have Mamang Daya sitting on the front
Prepare
lines
for
and
battle.
have him just taking towers, right? Like you'll have the Tide Hunter playing kind of around him. It might be a sort of game where he goes for an earlier blink than we've seen. You know, maybe not going into the hood, maybe just going for that blink timing so that he can counter initiate with a blink ravage if need be. And then yeah, they just play behind the Leshrac as much as possible and have Naga looking to farm out of vision. I think that's going to be very important from Palace as well. If you're looking to start to push onto one of these towers, Naga Siren can't be well away from his team and in vision. He needs to be jungling at that sort of time.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right with the Leshrac. Like, this is a hero that almost just forces you to fight. Like, he's going to be up in your face, taking objectives. You have to do something. Like, you can't just let him take these objectives. So I guess that's how they can almost force an engagement. But it's like in regards to the Tide Hunter, I just don't see him having too solid a lane. I mean, you've got a Undying Terrorblade, which isn't my like favorite combo. I'm a much better fan of having like a more kill threat lane with the TB Metamorphosis, but this is still a lane where you're just going to completely zone out the Tide, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. We already see a little bit of that banter, that ex-teammate banter coming out here from both teams in the all chat.
So Severi's bit of trouble. He's able to scurry himself out to safety. Once again, it's another game. We're just continuing to look to control around the T1 towers mid, and if they can get any D wards off. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how this team's going to fare. We got to cast a lot of Army Geniuses through last year and even the year before, and it was a team that I always just had an excitement casting. Like, they were just a band of 5 brothers together. Whenever we got to speak to them, they were a lot of fun. So we're going to see a lot of banter in this game, like we've already seen.
Lots of laughs, that's for sure. You know, they definitely enjoy their Dota, and the fact that they get paid for it as well, sign me up.
See if they can. It'll be a little notch under their belt if they're able to, either Neon or Army Geniuses, those ex-players against their friends, able to get that victory. I'm sure there's some banter that will, of course, happen afterwards. Mamang Dai and UK, if they can pick up that win, then I would imagine the message is going out straight away in a joking way.
Do you think it'll be on the same level as Jabs' Easy from yesterday when he was able to, turn around a nearly lost game?
I mean, that's I don't know if they'll all drop an ease, but maybe just the private PM, like loser or something like that. I don't know.
Just something a bit more wholesome, like loser.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. These guys, the interviews are so funny with them. But now we get to see them apart, battling it out. See which one's able to come out ahead. And regards to top, Dying's not swimming comfortably at the moment. It's kind of cool with how they're setting this up. I mean, there's so much minus armor. Lil Shredder, Blightstorm, and the Gush. Like, how does the Undying actually stand his ground?
With great difficulty, that's how. It's going to be a little bit more challenging for him. He got the couple of Ironwood branches, so at least he's sitting at 3 armor instead of 2 that he is normally at base. So he's not going to go all the way down to 0 armor super quickly outside of the use of that little shredder. So at least he can look to contest a little bit more in that way. Level 2, Metamorphosis pop, trying to bully out Enryu a little bit here. One other thing, I mean, you know how big of a fan I am of the Disruptor Aghanim Shard, and most of the time we like to see it on these heroes like a Night Stalker or like an Ursa or a Lifestealer. Heroes that want to be right-clicking, but honestly, it's pretty damn good on a Leshrac as well, just to be able to keep players around you, because you have to remember, with Thunderstrike in its recent-ish change, it now does that heavy movement and attack speed slow for 0.4 seconds at level 4. So if you've got that working at a huge radius around you with a Leshrac running at people, not only is it more damage, but it's enabling the Leshrac to do more damage with the movement speed and the slow at whoever he's chasing.
Yeah, I feel like we're a little bit biased in regards to the Aghanim Shard just because we got to cast I-League.
DY.
Yeah, DY. It was mainly... Was there anyone but Vici running it? I think there were a couple other teams that we saw.
It was as like a Tide response, but they were just picking it regardless.
Yeah, like they were just literally just 1-2 opening with it, and we honestly came to love the Aghanim Shard. I was surprised we didn't see it as much through TI. It's definitely something that I think is a pretty undervalued shard, so we'll see how much, you know, if he does even opt to go into that for UK.
I definitely would this game. I mean, I feel like they need to be trying to get onto the offensive, and so I don't think any defensive item is going to do all that much for UK right now. Like, he's going to have a Night Stalker running at him regardless, so he just needs to try and enable the rest of his team and kind of resign himself to death, basically, against this Night Stalker. Maybe, like, boots, magic, stick. Palos, he's getting gone on a little bit down here. He's got a lot of armor, but that's a lot of magic damage as well hitting him.
That it is. It's just going to be Lim at the moment and doesn't have any more abilities. Keep Palos alive, healthy as well, thanks to the Selve. A lot of aggression in the side lanes for the past minute or so as Varize, who almost fell up top as well with this heavy minus armor, but they're going to have another round of the Metamorphoses. This should really just secure DB a couple of waves. Again, don't see how they can really find kills, maybe just zoning out. Honestly, I'm surprised with how much Enryu is getting.
It's a lot of harass as well being pumped out. You're already level 3 on the Disruptor, so he's going to be able to use that level 2 Thunderstrike to look to harass out these two cores a little bit, and they actually do end up taking out DB.
Beautifully done. Big kill on top of the Terrorblade, and meanwhile you've got... then we haven't really talked about too much of the moment is mid, but it seems very, very even. I mean, close in regards to CS. Dai did pick up both the water runes though, so it's going to give him a bit of an advantage considering Azura doesn't have any more places to refill. Actually, he's still got a bounty up by the triangle, so he can fall back to that if need be.
Has to be careful though. I mean, you're up against a Leshrac. Sure, he's only got the 1 point in the Diabolic Edict, but if you leave this lane with a creep wave in it, not only are you going to fall behind in terms of net worth and experience, but your tower's going to take some hits as well.
Ooh. Is Dai actually going to get the kill? Phase shift back up. He's got Fairy Fire too. You see the Leshrac has put a little bit more commitment into the Lightning Storm, just considering it is against the ranged matchup. So even down bottom, there's a huge dive. The first nighttime of the game is Wommy and Lim combining together to get a kill on the Disruptor. So top lane 2 and Ryu, they'll trade it 1 for 1. Both the cores up top at least getting something across the map as they're able to pick up their first kills of the game.
They're trying to get as aggressive as they can immediately around these timings. Wommy, of course, level 4 at the moment, so not having the greatest start to the game, but now that it's nighttime, you can look to put a bit more pressure onto Palos. I mean, it gets to the point eventually where, you know, this Naga Siren with the mirror images is just way too much for a single target hero like the Night Stalker to deal with, and that's around the time that you want to just abandon the lane and start to go roaming around that level 6, level 7 on Wommy.
Is there a side that you feel like would get a little bit more benefit out of any stacks? Like, would you like to see supports kind of put more emphasis on that? Or
Oh,
that
they're actually
thought
looking to
coil?
make a bit of a play here.
Yeah, they're on top of the left track in the mid lane, so Zero with the help of the double support rotation. I don't know if he'll secure the arcane, which is a little unfortunate. He will. UK is still just going to hide himself away. Omi, he does catch him out. It's okay. So the Disruptor, they're going to find a sneaky solo kill. I think that Observer Ward deep by the outpost enabled the Night Stalker to catch him out.
Yeah, for sure. That was also the shortest TP I've ever seen from Lim. Basically only going from one side of the Dire mid lane to the other, just to make sure that they were able to immediately get there on top of the Leshrac.
Again, it's just a game where we're seeing a lot of farm picked up from the cores. I mean, a couple of kills, but no one's really been able to transition this into a big net worth lead. I mean, it's very early on, but at least we're going to have a pretty even start to this game. And are the rotations really going to start to come through from the level 6s? Like, is that when we're going to see more kill opportunities?
For Army Geniuses?
For either team.
Potentially. I mean, you always want to be playing around these siege creeps as well. Enryu, unfortunately, even though he's got a ton of net worth, he's not quite level 6 just yet, but Varys on his Undying, probably one of the worst heroes at looking to try and defend any kind of push. If he gets jumped on, he's a sitting duck. Not if you miss the cookie, though.
Yeah. Now they've overstayed their welcome as Enryu, along with UK, they'll glimpse back one, but a beautiful time of the phase shift gives them no opportunity to at least disjaunt from the puck from the action, but it does give them some time for Enryu to get away. So with all the emphasis they put on top and only losing one, I feel like Neon are pretty happy with what they're getting across the map, because they're also going to find a pick off for themselves. Wami under the T1 tower will lose his life.
Your elements purged.
Looking at potentially considering the Diabolic Edict on the mid lane, not going to be the case. And I was about to say they might have been in a little bit of trouble with this top tower on the top side. Enryu he's taken a decent amount of harass coming through here, but eventually they'll force the TB to back off. So I feel like maybe now, you know, they only gave up the Disruptor. I feel like you can make a play on the top side right now. Like, Disruptor's playing around the mid lane, but you've got Ravage, you don't have Metamorphosis, and, you know, the Dream Coil's still off cooldown for a little bit as well. I mean, that's a kill if Disruptor's there.
Unfortunately, UK is like, come on, guys. I need me time. I'm level 4. I ain't got boots yet. You need to let a brother get something across the map.
Me time can come after that tower dies.
Oh, he thinks otherwise. He's like, no, me time, main priority. Screw the tower. Let me get the 6. Let me get something. Then I can come up top. Then I'm ready to rock and roll. DB. I'd be in trouble, actually. Palos. A beautiful setup for the Split Earth. He's relatively close to the tier 1 tower. A very early level in the Sunder will give him enough health to get to safety. Simultaneously top. Drop the coil. The help of the DD from Azura along with Wami picks up 2 big kills for Army Geniuses as they defend their safe lane tower.
I mean, I can understand. Yeah, the band's coming out again in the chat. I can understand the reasoning behind UK not wanting to be part of a lot of this, because again, he's coming up against a Night Stalker. It's nighttime. He's got his Dark Ascension available, so he's like, look, I'm basically dead meat if I join a fight anyway, so I'm just going to farm and make sure I'm as close to level 6 as possible when it hits that daytime, that 10-minute mark. So there's that, but unfortunately the meaning is that it's cost them that kill onto DB when he was playing around that top side of the map.
And I think as a lineup like Neon, you'd really hope to have at least a tier 1 down at this stage. I mean, you've got a Leshrac with 3 points in Edict. I kind of just...
They can do it now.
I mean, it's a lot more difficult to take. I guess with ultis on cooldown, daytime as well.
Yeah, daytime, no ultis available. TB doesn't really want to join just yet. Like, he's got only 2 points in the Metamorphosis. He only has a Falcon Blade, so I feel like you should be able to get this tower kill.
They might even get Varese as well. Sticking around for a little bit too long. And this recognition from Army Geniuses that you need to keep this alive, and if you can get through the catapult timing, then maybe this tower is not going to end up falling. And okay, they will do so. So catapult wave gone, a lot of damage to the tower, but maybe that's enough to keep it alive for an extra minute or so.
Potentially, we've got Momang Dai here looking to make the most use out of the regen as well, keeping that Pulse Nova going, stacking up the camps for himself, so he'll look to flash farm a little bit. Oh, while that was happening as well, Palace was doing a decent amount of damage to the bottom tower, so I think Neon is still totally cool with how this is all turning out.
A tide to the impurity.
Do you feel like there's a team right now that's on a bit of a timer? It's actually, we've got a couple of ultimates down by the triangle. The extra soul repeal just enough to keep the puck alive through the burst, and now they're going to turn on both the supports. It's a beautiful timing to rent the cookie up to the high ground. This does give some opportunity for Renryu. Get some damage on the T1. I don't think that's enough to bring it down, unfortunately.
Dire's top tower
It's
is
just
under
in deny
Dire's
range as
top
well,
tower
so
has
I'm sure
fallen.
that's something that they're going to be considering. But in the meantime, again, it feels like they're just getting a lot more out of the map right now on Neon. You know, the kill score is in Army Genius's favor, but it requires heavy commitments, you know. Sure, you burn the ultimates, the Mortimer's Kisses, the Static Storm,
Dire's
but
top tower
it drags
is
them
under
away
attack.
to the other side of the map. It lets Leshrac have a much easier game, and I talked about it before, but Mang Dyer, he's the one that's going to be countering Army Genius's win condition in the Terrorblade. So as long as he's having a
Dire's
good
bottom
game,
tower
I
is
think you're
under
totally
attack.
cool with it. And again, Naga's having a great game, well ahead on net worth. Palace has not been touched on this bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and that's scary considering he's a hero that's going to farm at a bit more of a rapid rate than the Terrorblade. I mean, you just be it more camps.
You like a 13-minute banter?
Dire's middle
Because
tower
I
is
do.
under attack.
Yeah, no,
Dire's
that's
structures
cool and
are
all.
fortified.
What's the GPM? Let's take a look. Yeah, measly 496. Palace
Dire's
sitting very
middle tower
comfortable.
is under attack.
And I take a look at what they're doing
Dire's
across the
middle
map, though. They're
tower
just
has
playing
fallen.
completely away from him, making all the space in the world. I wonder what the second item we're going to see here from Palos.
I mean, he couldn't just go straight into a Skadi, could he?
I
bad.
would not hate that at all. I really wouldn't hate that. I mean, you're against a Terrorblade Pox, so any effectiveness against the range matchups is great. We've always seen like the Manta Diffusal Blade. It feels like you're over the past couple of instances whenever the Naga is picked up, they've really mainly shied away from the Diffusal.
Yeah, it's not amazing, this game. Like, the Terrorblade doesn't really care about having too much mana, especially super later on when the Sunders, actually, they end up getting UK another time. It just feels so unfortunate to be a disruptor. It's one of those supports that I keep talking about that doesn't have
Radiant
the
are
escape
scanning.
mechanisms needed to be able to counter any kind of aggression onto him. It's only now, though, that he's actually
Radiant's
sending the
top
courier
tower
out to
is
grab
under
that
attack.
ultimate orb. So there's the Manta style finished up for Palace, and he's just going to look to play super aggressively.
So Wami's actually going for an Aghanims as well in the Night Stalker. Do you feel like they are just looking to identify some of the issues they'll have with the Naga illusions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the only reason for it, right? Like, the puck, sure, you can help out with the damage a little bit, but I
Dire's structures are
called out
fortified.
how they were lacking a lot of this AoE damage needed to be able to take care of a Naga Siren.
Oh, it's
Another tower gone.
gonna be at a...
Dire's bottom tower
If he can get it with a couple of minutes to spare on the second nighttime, then you're very happy with that Ags. But if not, then you make yourself pretty useless for an early stage of this game, as another
He made
DD
oil.
for Azura, combined with a Witch's Blade, is going to be difficult for Neon to get out of dodge. They look to sing the song. There will not be a retreat from the Snap. In fact, they're actually looking to stick around with the reinforcements showing up. Snapfire
TP.
continued to burrow himself further in the tree line. In fact, he's just going to drop the artillery. They've forgotten about Hustler, and now he's going to look to make them pay as they drop the Ravage the Tentacles, just whiffing on the puck, which will enable him to scurry further and further to northern side and orb up in a couple of seconds. DB too late to the party as well, but now he'll have the assistance from Lim. They're lacking some control, so Enryu's going to put himself further on the front line to disable the Terrorblade's damage, but that's not enough as they'll lose Mermain Dire.
They'll lose him, but it's a heavy commitment. You know, you lose your offlaner, you lose your mid, you also lose the Solar Guardian, excuse me. So that's 100 seconds where you're not going to be able to use it. The Dark Ascension used previously, at least it's nighttime for the Night Stalker, but any chance that you have to be able to...
I mean, it's...
Not so fast.
Do you feel like the Ags though, like we were speaking about how, yes, it's going to be great to help deal with the Naga illusions, but it's not really giving them a hero that wants to be making plays. I guess the Puck can do that, but we haven't seen it so far. Yeah, they've gone in, but nice use of the reset there. Neon are out.
So, I mean, yep, no Dark Ascension. Going to be about half of its duration remaining. It's still going to be nighttime for sure. But, you know, definitely something that you're much more comfortable playing around when, sure, you might have good attack speed and everything like that, but as long as you can't fly over trees and just immediately get onto the back line, you feel so much more comfortable on Neon's lineup. So, you know, they don't have this gigantic window where they can really take advantage of it, but they've got a solid minute where Ravage is going to be available and Dark Ascension isn't. So I feel like that's going to be what they're playing around this 17.5-minute mark.
We were also contemplating the itemization from Enryu and what might he look to go for. It was actually the all-out pipe here instead of like a hood blink, or we were even thinking that it might just be a blink rush, but a lot of
illusions alive, right?
Yeah, very, very true. Just all you can. I mean, Dai have pretty much all magical damage until Terrorblade is up and going.
Let's see what they do. It's that 17-ish minute mark that I was talking about. Tidehunter's farming on the aggressive side of the map. He's going to be the one that actually pops the smoke that was coming out there from Variz and Azura. And maybe just trying to fix the lanes a little bit. There isn't any super easy objective for them to be able to take. I mean, they've got some solid Roche taking potential with the Gush and the Little Shredder and the Medallion of Courage on Hustler. So I was thinking maybe they might try and play around the top side, but it's going to be a little challenging for them considering all the vision that Army Geniuses is putting around there. They realize how much potential they have to be able to take Roche, so they're really looking to protect this area for themselves.
They're going to have just under 2 minutes here to utilize with the Aghanims in this second nighttime, so I really want to see Dai just smoke up straight away, but they're not connected as a team to do so. I mean,
is this a Naga's ultimate and kill with this?
Oh, they're gonna make an attempt. They don't even need this song. Static Storm drop an instant answer from Lim. The help of the mech, the Soul Rip as well. DB just wastes one of the ultimates from Raiden, and well, now they're all down bot, but there's no objective really to find. Azura, Breeze hunting the back. They've got the nighttime, the Aghanims as well. There's the coil out, but the song instantly answered. It's a little bit of miscommunication with the Mortimer Kisses, but it looks like they really just want to use it to get Mamang Dai out to safety. Unfortunately, you've got to go up against the Wami Night Stalker. The Dark Ascension giving them all the information to take the fight accordingly. As they'll kill off the Leshrac, they'll look to target down UK with a Terrorblade and then deal with the Naga Siren up to the western side with ease as Neon find a 3-for-0 trade. They're not even done just yet. Enryu is a difficult beast. Completely different from the rest of Neon. Pipe's still ready to rock and roll. He hasn't used it yet. A lot of damage is already flying. And forced to drop the Ravage super defensively. Not what you want to see.
Bounty.
Oh, nonetheless though, Army Geniuses, that's exactly the fight I'm hoping for. I was saying, like, you got about 1:30 left on the Aghanims, and with that second nighttime, take a fight. Ready to rock and roll, force the aggressive front onto Neon, and it gives them, they don't get any objectives out of it, but at least you get some kills.
I mean, I think that still is okay for the Tidehunter. I mean, that's two big misplays from Enryu, right? Like, one, he used his TP scroll towards the top side of the map that enabled Army Geniuses to make that sort of play, and then after that he pops the Ravage for nothing more than just to save his own life.
Oh, they caught out the Terrorblade.
Dire's middle tower
DB forced to use a super defensive BKB. Luckily enough for him, it was just delivered, so he had that available.
There's the glimpse.
Breeze is the target. Beautiful stun as well from Mamang Dai. So we were speaking about Palace and his itemization on the Naga side. He did in fact go for the Diffusal Blade after the Manta.
So they're able to pick up the Van Brace now as well for the Naga, so that's going to be great, providing all of that additional magic resist for himself as well. See, I don't want to, harp too much on Enryu and using that Ravage, but I feel like the impact of that is even more pronounced considering the Night Stalker went this Aghanim Scepter instead of a BKB as his like first big team fight item. So, considering you have the Ravage that's going to be able to counter your supports getting gone on without him being able to do anything about it because he doesn't have a BKB, you need to have that available. You need to punish as much of that timing as you can. But, considering he didn't, it's just opened up this big window where they were able to get a team fight going in their favor. They were able to get a lot of damage and take out the cores on OB.Neon. And now he's even looking to build into that BKB a little bit later. He's already got the Ogre Club, so that's already giving him that little bit of extra health, that damage, because he's a strength hero. So things are looking better for Army Geniuses just off the back of one bit of poor positioning coming through from Enryu.
Yeah, I think this is nice, at least the fact that Wami's gonna have ways to keep up in farm. I think we saw a Night Stalker yesterday where his laning stage didn't go the greatest, and this is a hero that you need kills to be able to at least keep up with your counterpart. And the fact that he has the Aghanim Soul Ring, he will be able to farm at a decent rate and not really tail further and further behind, where it gets to a stage of position 4 will in fact just take over his net worth. And another DD and Arcane for the puck here, so this could be a bit of a timing for them to make a play.
They know that there's smokes around the area as well. That's why the scan's coming out there. They're grouping up around their high ground. Let's see if they look to place any vision down as well. Doesn't look like they have any observer wards to place. But Enryu, being the tankiest one, just looks to move himself forward, break the smoke, and then they'll counter it with one of their own.
Breeze. Not really the hero you want to be going on. Gives him opportunity to drop the Tombstone. As soon as that's committed, along with the Dark Ascension, Neon, they need to get some form of control around a vicinity. It looks the high ground will be that. Can they
Alice was
Roche?
going for a little bit of the wraparound. I mean, you can wait out the Dark Ascension, and then you can Roche absolutely, in my eyes.
Yeah, like you were saying before, they've got very solid ways to bring this down with all their minus armor. I mean, maxed out Lil Shredder, Medallion completed. You've got maxed out Gush as well. Yeah, I'd love to see them just walk in and try and take this fight. They've got daytime for another minute 50, and yeah, they're going to do just that. I don't see how Army Geniuses contest this.
Dire's courier has been killed.
And they will not. They're just going to have to give this up for free, and it's going to give a big window here for Neon. Do you feel like you give it to the Leshrac or the Naga?
Roshan has fallen to the raiders.
I feel like the Leshrac. Yeah, the Lesh has to be the way that it goes about, right? Like, you're so tanky right now on Palos. He's got his Banter style. He's got his Heart of Tarask. He's actually switched over to having the Brigand's Blade instead, looking to prioritize his farming a little bit more, as they've actually caught out Lim on the top side here, forcing a rotation out of the Undying. Not sure if it's going to actually save him, though.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
He's not enough, unfortunately. It feels it's always rough being Undying at this stage in the game when you're tipping in to protect someone like that. You're going to do absolutely naught to someone like the Naga, who has this heart completed Palos very close to the level 18, and this is just going to be go time here for Neon. Do you feel like with this Aegis they could go high ground, or is it really just get all the outer towers and look to suffocate them further in a chokehold?
It could be either. I mean, I feel like it's very important that they keep pushing their advantage while they've got their ultimates, while it's daytime, and while Night Stalker doesn't have BKB. Like, it seems like such a small thing, but him being able to just completely take out the impact of these supports on the backline is enormous, right? Like, you don't even need to stay on top of Hustler. If you pop the Crippling Fear and then he Mortimer's Kisses, you just need to go over him for a second, and that will silence him during that channeling time, take away a ton of your damage there.
They are very close to DB having Skadi. In fact, he's got enough gold for this, so we're still with an 8-second BKB charge. They've got pretty good... I mean, if you can land the coil, Tombstone slow, there will be a lot of ways to enable Terrorblade just to freely right-click in these fights, but you need... Must get these abilities off a quick succession.
It's like he's going into the Bloodstone as well here on Momang Dai, just wanting to keep himself as survivable as possible. You've seen this time around Puck actually going for the phase shift attack in combination together with that Witchblade as well. Trying to do the best they can to take care of those pesky illusions. Might even look to keep this push going. I mean, they've got a siege creep that's backing them up. Henry sitting himself on the front lines, nearly finished up the Heaven's Halberd for himself. And yeah, Mamang Diet, why not just join in with the rest of the push there with the Diabolic Edict? All of those outer towers are going to be removed from the equation. So, I mean, I said it was important that they take as much as advantage of this situation as they can, where Nightstalker doesn't have the BKB. But I mean, if he's not farming, it's honestly not even that terrible, right? Like, you could take these outer towers, you could play a little bit slower, and you're not really giving anything up in exchange for it. They might even find DB
they're gonna run
here.
into DB. You hate to see a BKB force like that defensively again. Second time this game.
Makes me think that Palace might even look to go into the Aghanim Scepter next for himself, just so that you have a way to be able to go through that with the Ensnare.
It's great versus the Nightstalker too. Like, that's a hero that really relies on positioning.
And the Puck even, right? Like, you use the Song of the Siren, and then you can still net him inside of it and actually burst him down.
Yeah, I think that Ags is crazy on Palace. He's got to run into Varese. They have detection. They do not. I mean, this Ags increases cast range by 400, reduces cooldown by 6, and just makes it go through BKB, which is ridiculous in itself. Now, yes, it's 4,200 gold. I get that. Yeah, we're not really going to see it as early of an item here, but it does so many valuable things. And here the siege comes. Got the Aegis for another minute 10.
Got that BKB though. He actually sold his Magic Wand there on Wommy to make sure he had the money to play into this team fight.
As soon as Tombstone drop, they're just going to reset. Is the BKB coming out the free? Coil as well, but a beautiful timing. The Halberd means a Terrorblade damage lacking at the early stage of this fight. They're completely zoning Neon away. Song's available if they want to try and reset their positioning. They're waiting for a beautiful opportunity. It's finding with a jump on top of the backline, but Ryu only clips on one as DB's fingers on the BKB was fast enough to keep the life. Now they'll look to turn as Palos, he's goddamn taken with the heart. This gives him ample time to be able to drop the Song into the TPR, but they lose absolutely no one on Army Geniuses.
That was a really nice Song of the Siren as well. With the Leshrac, he was TPing away outside of the safety of his BKB. If that song didn't go off, then a Starbreaker would have been able to interrupt it, and he would have gone down as well. So, good play by Palace, but you just see the impact of having the BKB, what difference it makes.
They still want to defend mid, however. It's taking a decent chunk of time for Dire to collapse around the area, so it looks like poor old Lim would be the sacrifice, but Army Geniuses have showed some signs of life. Like, that's a solid defense. I say that, be a bit worried that Neon might just walk it down. I mean, they are pinging out this high ground.
Why not? You know, they don't have the Dark Ascension again, so you can actually look to play around the trees a little bit here with the supports. You were still able to get off the Static Storm, I suppose, but it's always the difficulty, right, where you hate feeling completely helpless in a lot of these fights. There's the pipe, keeping the creep wave alive.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
It's just so difficult committing. I really wonder if they... Like, what was... How did you feel they could have used Song differently? Because I thought as soon as AG instigated that fight, we were just going to see Neon instantly Song... waste the Dark Ascension, waste the Tombstone, reset their positioning, because if they don't do that instantly, then the slow stack up. You got Scardy, you got Void, you got the Tombstone slow, Puck dishing out all the control, and if you don't answer instantly, we saw what could happen.
Radiant are scanning.
Sure, but the Dark Ascension just lasts for way too long. Like, I guess maybe it'll be a bit more in that vein, that even if, you know, the Nightstalker pops his BKB, as long as you use the Song of the Siren, at least it's only going to be him trying to do some damage. So with the lower BKB time, you'll be able to waste the entire.
That's another defensive BKB TP out. So we are down to our last 6-second duration now.
Loaded to the gills.
They know he's still bottom. Palos.
Bottom tower is under attack.
See if he can get aggressive. He's got the rest of the team starting to connect to bot. Palos actually might just drop the Song now. The full duration control, is it going to be long enough to get the assistance required to bring down the Terror Blade? Very goddamn tanky. Manta Heart, Butterfly as well. I don't know if you're going to go through the Naga fast enough. And Manta out back to safety, but once again, the Dark Ascension and the Tombstone, the area control that Army Geniuses have this time, but they've caught the puck in the backline, so the Static Storm drop, it's going to give it an opportunity to swing to the outskirts, but it's not enough. They've got the damage to be able to go through that initial silence duration, but a buyback instantly coming to the fray, but it's not able to rejoin the fight fast enough. They're going to be cautious if they group up. A Ravage ready and waiting from Enryu, finally casting it out, but it really only clips onto one. It's enough lockdown to deal with the Night Stalker. They've glimpsed back DB as well. Now he's forced to stand his ground in man fight. No BKB available. Metamorphosis at the ready. But he doesn't want to use this just yet. A retreat to the northern side, utilizing the trees to dissuade in and out.
Azura playing with fire a little bit there. The buyback was forced. At least they were able to get the kill onto Mamang Dyer. If they didn't, then that probably would have been high ground starting to be sieged here. Because, you know, no Metamorphosis, no puck buyback as well. A couple of kills. It's a lot more challenging to be able to deal with. And that felt like a lot more how OB.Neon wanted to be playing this game. You know, a bit more of that divide and conquer. Make sure that the tankiest hero on your team is the first one that gets initiated on, as opposed to something like a Leshrac, who's still pretty damn tanky, but it's just providing that wall to the rest of your teammates, particularly the supports.
Yeah, we see Palos building into the Aghanim Scepter now as well, so we were speaking about that earlier. We don't have ways to just BKB TP out ever so freely. Another item to mention is the fact that DB's completed MKB. Do you feel like this is going to be you know, a big damage ramp up where we could see the fights turn differently?
I feel like it's only a direct response to the fact that Naga went the Butterfly, right? Like, if she didn't have Butterfly, if she went exit by suggestion there, she would have died. It was just simply all of that evasion that she was able to get to, and the additional armor as well, I suppose, to be able to prevent her death there. So, Army Genius is not wanting that to be the case again.
Zero. It's gonna jump snap fire instantly. Pretty tanky for a support, 2100 health. So that's Coil and Tombstone dropped. Even Wami's gonna use the Dark Ascension, a heavy commitment. They need to get more out of it. With the extra damage from the Metamorphosis, this should be enough to rain down Hellfire with that Solar Guardian, and they're still pushing back forward for more. Palos controlling through the Night Stalker thanks to the Aghanim Scepter, but they've already lost 3. Might have to cancel the TP on Enryu. In fact, he's going to commit on forward, standing hand in hand with his position 1. But how long can they stick around? Is his MKB damage going to start to reign supreme? Got the
Still don't have
song
Ravage, though.
on cooldown for another
seconds until
5. Yeah, no mana as well with a big issue. Now that it is daytime, they've wasted a lot. There's the bounce, but it's only Palos. Yes, it's enough damage to kill off the Night Stalker and the Dawnbreaker, but are they key enough kills for them to stick around and maybe deter Army Geniuses from getting anything out of it? It looks like it is indeed. They're even going to hunt forward for DB. BKB Sunder at the ready, but the man is completely getting burnt. He'll finally use the Sunder on the correct Naga. Sorry, now Azura's going to jump in forward as well. Palos trying to scurry himself to safety, but won't do it successfully. There's a big kill finally on Palos. DB will not make it away. A glimpse into the kisses. A disgusting death to find. As Hustler secures the double and at least gets him some retribution.
Yeah, it's some good plays coming out from either side, and how do you know? How do you know which is the... What a player. Sometimes there's a little bit of luck that gets involved with it all.
I like this. I like having a game where, you know, feels like all the enemy boys are bantering. It doesn't have almost that as tense aspect.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of big items, you know, we talked about the MKB, the Butterfly. Big one's about to come out for UK, the Disruptor Aghanim Scepter, only 60 gold away. Hustler as well. He was been able to pick up the Blink Dagger for himself. I'm sure he feels somewhat safe now that he's going to be able to play well away from the rest of his team and then only blink in when he's actually needed. So makes things a little bit easier against the Night Stalker in particular. What he doesn't know, unless he's very observant, is that Night Stalker's picked up a Blink Dagger of his own. So he's just going to be able to go and find the key target.
Leshrac doesn't get on the vicinity to use the Eulers to break the coil. This is an Aghanim Scepter coil as well, so the duration extended. But man, Daya is not an easy beast to kill it, and all the time wasted has enabled the reinforcements to come in the vicinity. Now you have to think twice on Army Geniuses. A beautiful tombstone on the high ground is going to give them a lot of vision control, but Night Stalker eviscerated as Palace can lock him down.
That ensnare's kind of stupid, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, 5-second duration. It's basically his entire BKB at this point. And there's nothing much you could do about it. Just sit there with your wings flapping and accept that death is about to come.
Oh, second Roche now for free. Aegis, Aghanim Shard. Feel like all for Mamang Daya?
Yeah, I would absolutely give him the shard for sure.
Roshan has fallen to the Radiant.
Just, it's one of those things, right, where... Oh, nice DD rune.
Double desolation.
I'm sure he wants to like lay down the splitter. He doesn't need to get someone in the stun for it. He just needs to use it as a bit of a spacing tool, right? Because Terrorblade is someone that just wants to sit there and start raining down damage. If you're able to take out the effectiveness, or at least a big part of the effectiveness of all of his illusions, then you've done a huge portion of the job in this team
Middle
fight.
barracks are under attack.
You know, we've been speaking a lot about the area control,
Dire's
you know, that
middle
Daya can have with the
barracks
Tombstone, but now Radiant, they have their own.
Dire's top tower
Just
is
lather
under
down the
attack.
Split Earths. You know, it did go that
Dire's
radius as
middle
well, the 10
barracks
talent.
has fallen.
So full set of barracks claimed. And they've got nighttime for quite some time, 3 minutes in fact, but you know, see how difficult of a task it's going to be to hold the high ground.
Feeling confident just yet, even with the Aegis, so maybe just wanting perhaps a few more of those items. We could see the Shiva's Guard picked up great against the Terrorblade, and the Night Stalker, honestly, and maybe even just looking for some of those tier 4 items to come out. We can see Flicker picked up there, going to be fantastic against the Puck to be able to get out of that silence. Ninja Gear, another great one to be able to give over to perhaps one of the
Radiant's
supports,
courier
just so
has
that,
been
again,
killed.
they can stand well away from the rest of the team and only look to join when they see fit. It's actually the Naga Siren that's got the Ninja Gear.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
I struggle to see how this Terrorblade's going to match up later on versus the Naga, and even versus the Leshrac as well. Like, they've got a pretty solid roster to go versus the win condition on Army Geniuses. You can play all you want of just playing the outskirts. Maybe you just deal with everyone but the Naga and Lesh. Like, Disruptor, Snapfire, pretty key components. We're going to see one of them falling here as well. It does have to drop the BKB. It's a pretty heavy commitment, and there you go. Aghanim's out, so that magic immunity completely wasted, in fact. The answers come into the fray, but Enryu dropping the Ravage, giving them some control of the team fight, but they've still got to be cautious. A 1-for-1 trade, but the Helmet's out. They're able to control up DB. Looking to try and reposition himself, but can he get the BKB or the Sunder off? Great use of the Manta, and he's out to safety. TB's now going to look to turn. Ascardi slow will bring down Enryu. Simultaneously, though, Palace, he wants to get in the midst of it all. They haven't dealt with the Naga illusions. They can't even find the real one. DB playing around with the first life, and that's all he's got. Varese next to drop as well with a 1-me buyback, but he'll get not into the fray at all. With 3 falling on Army Geniuses, they instantly have to reset themselves and try and craft the defense.
Well, they absolutely don't need to do that on OB.Neon, though. They might even look to try and end this, you know, make a bit of pokes onto the tier 4 tower. They're going to go for the safer play with the Diabolic Edict. Lesh, unfortunately, not quite yet level 25, so it doesn't have that Diabolic Edict explosion talent, but it's still going to be plenty to be able to take out this second lane Arax.
Barracks are under attack. Radiant's courier has been
They
killed.
can cut the Kree waves. This will give them some extra time. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good at all. Aghanim Static Storm, too strong. Yeah, we saw this was an item for quite some time where Disruptor would just instantly rush it and... Like, what do you do against it? Silence, muted, no bueno, nothing you can do. Puck gone, 100 seconds on the deck, and that's more of a window now.
Yeah, they're pinging out this creep wave as well. The most valuable creep wave in the entire game, just saying we need to babysit this. We need to make sure that no one is going to try and backdoor it in the meantime.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack.
I'll have everyone up in
Dire's top tower
8 seconds here. All the big abilities as well.
Dire's middle tower is under
Dark
attack.
Ascension,
Dire's top
Metamorphosis.
barracks has fallen.
But the top set of barracks has to be defended, and it won't at all. As Wummy jumps in a little bit too late. Mega Creeps Gaming now. They've split them up. Palos the target, but again, he's so difficult to go through. They'll get the break on the coil. Can he get the song or the Ravage up to keep Palos alive? They bring him down. Army Geniuses, a heavy commitment to target the Naga Siren. They'll do so successfully, but what's the consequence of Flay? And Ryu, without the Ravage, a big ultimate that they may be required to turn the fire, but it's not going to matter. They can't even rip apart Main Dire. First life finally dealt with, but all the AoE damage is too much for them to bear. They'll glimpse back Wummy. Static Storm dropped. I mean, it's just the Tide and the Disruptor, but finally Main Dire can pair together. So, I mean, it was a beautiful start getting rid of the Naga Siren, but looks like the Lesh is way too farmed, too much of a beast to handle. He's still going to bleed incredibly deep. He's got Disruptor working with him. Even Tide as well coming through the high ground. Tide doesn't have the mana right now for the Ravage. They're going to have to hope for this to maybe keep Main Dire alive. Or do they even need the Ravage? My God, Main Dire. What a debut on the new roster. They'll take game one.
Very nicely done. The celebratory TP right in his face as well. It's how they wanted to end the game. It was a good performance all throughout by OB.Neon. A few shaky moments there, particularly around the Enryu Tidehunter, and with the supports just getting dived by the Night Stalker made their life quite difficult. But this Naga Siren, I thought he got way too much out of the laning stage and punished them accordingly. You just saw how quickly the game swung when, you know, Aghanim Scepter came out for the Naga Siren, BKB came out for the Night Stalker, it swung the other way, and then the Aghanim Scepter on the Disruptor just swung it back in Neon's favor enough for them to close it out.
Yeah, it just felt like we saw Neon do a lot more once they were able to find these item timings. You recognize the importance. You know, we're at a stage where we can take these fights. We're super strong. Let's get aggressive. Let's push back Army Geniuses. And it's just unfortunately there were a couple of fights that they could string together on Dire, but you know, in the end it wasn't enough to handle. Do you feel like this was any issue with draft wise that they can look to to settle in the break?
Well, coming into this game, Undying had a really good win rate, but not so much anymore. It just feels like, sure, it's strong at brawling, but if it just puts so much pressure on your laning stage, right? It feels like you're almost an exclusively laning stage hero. You don't provide as much healing as something like a Dawnbreaker does. Like, you could just have a look at the post-game screen, right? Lim, he's got 5,000 more healing on this Dawnbreaker when compared with an Undying, and he's not got anywhere near the same potential for damage on an Undying either. So I feel like maybe teams need to go away from this a little bit and just pick up other strong laning supports, like a Bane, for example, if it's available, just because you can provide a whole lot more once it does get to that later stage of the game.
Oh, for the boys on Neon, a good start in this series against some of their old friendly teammates as they're able to take game one. We'll see if Army Geniuses can come back and tie the series, but only time will tell. We'll send it to break and we'll see you guys shortly.